Hello there. You have to forgive me. I've got a bit of a cold, so I've got a bit of a snotty nose. But I just thought I'd mention about the report that's just come through a day about a few things actually. One was the report about how the doctors are now actually worrying. I've actually said that medical supplies are running low for the most common things, the most common painkillers are now running low, or prices are going up because there's a shortage, which can impact the NHS. Now, it's interesting that we remember all this Project V malarkey that all these Brexiteers kicked off about. That we'd all have, it'd be like utopia, we'd make our own deals, we'd have amazing trade deals, and we wouldn't have any problems, we'd carry on as normal. It seems now it's coming home to roost. We had our seed shortages. And it's not necessarily the EU's fault because the EU is only trying to look after its own members. The problem comes of the government who doesn't have a clue what it's doing. The government, rather than telling people yes or no, is kind of in a limbo situation. Now, on a no deal Brexit, which is something that I don't believe will be better for the country, it'll be even worse. On that scenario, you are going to see problems with medication getting through. You may even see food problems. And that's purely because of the bureaucracy of how WTO works. You may have maybe a, a period of uncertainty. In that point, you will see food prices go up, the pound will go up, so anything imported will cost even more than it has done before. So the fact that you have someone like Farage telling people Project Fear is now like comical alley from the Iraq War. He's telling everyone that the Americans have not invaded while this is going on. A statue of Saddam Hussein crashes to the ground. And this is kind of what's happening with Brexit right now. You're getting the likes of Farage, Mogg, Johnson, trying to convince their people it's all going to be okay when we are now seeing even the impact, and we haven't even left yet, we're seeing the major impact of it. When Airbus warn us about no deal, when doctors are warning us about no deal, when security chiefs from Ireland are warning us about no deal, and all these experts that have specific knowledge in their field, but you have to ask yourself, what knowledge does Nigel Farage have? What knowledge does Jacob Rees-Mogg have? Remember, Farage is an MEP who rarely shows up for votes. Mogg is a backbencher MP with vested interest. His father wrote a book called How to Make Money During an Economic Crisis. So, and both of them have made contingency plans anyway, with Jacob Rees-Mogg moving some of his accounts to Ireland, Nigel Farage giving his kids German passports, and all these other players are now making an absolute bomb, to put it mildly, in the case of a no deal. The guy from Witherspoon's pub, he's now going round the country with his little crappy amp. I mean, seriously, there are better PAs around. My PA would be better than his, but obviously he's too tight to buy a decent PA system. So he's going around telling everyone how great Brexit is, but at the same time, he is undercutting wages. He's only paying what he can legally has to pay. He's also operating zero contracts. There was a letter a few years ago, long before Brexit, uh, about from an angry father whose son had to borrow money to buy a pair of shoes because his shoes got a hole in and he had to walk to his zero contract job at Witherspoons. So this is not just a Brexit thing, this is a long term thing. This is something he's been very guilty of. So imagine if all these regulations were cut, if got rid of, he could basically anything that he took was profits. He's now even got banned European drinks, which I think's stupid. Mind you, would you? A comedian made a good point and said, "Would you ever go to a? Would you ever go to Witherspoon and all the champagne? Probably not. I mean, the food's like at the best of times, so I doubt you'd go drinking like English summer sparkling wine. It's not the same as you can't raise a toast to someone with uh, pear cider, can you? Pear cider wine or whatever it is that they're giving you. And you don't go into and the people in nightclub store and order herbal bombs, medicinal herbal bombs. They order Jaeger bombs. So, you can tell he's kind of dumbing down and knowing people that he's going to track to the grey vote. But maybe that's what Brexit was. It was an attempt at the grey vote. Because like statistically young people don't vote. So they go with that. Now, because Parliament, it's such a deadlock, there's only realistically 3 options left on the table. Now, we're going to assume that no deal, the government would never have a no deal because there's too much anger over it. It would cause problems. They'd revoke Article 50 before even a no deal became an issue. Remember that. They would deliberately revoke it before they push for a no deal. So there are 3 options here. We go back to the people and ask them to decide on what they want for their future, whether they want to go and decide whether you want the deal that's on the table. Do you want a different deal of us staying in the single market? Do you want us to leave completely? Or have you changed your mind with all the chaos that's happened? I think, and they're the 4 options. I've always said there should always be 4 options, and it should be a V system. So that way you won't get like a small minority like you did in the yes no. And I think that's the realistic option. Yes, it might upset a few people, but I would rather upset a few Ramoners. I'd rather upset a few Brextremists at this minute rather than see the country descend into chaos because the MPs can't get their act together and kind of make a deal, get a deal sorted that's not going to damage people's health, jobs, or well-being in general. And that's my personal opinion. The other option is that obviously we revoke Article 50. Now, I can't see that being a thing because it would just upset a lot of people. It would make the Conservatives unvotable. There'd be a lot of anger. Some people wouldn't even vote ever again. Well, for a while at least. Because they'd believe it was a betrayal. At least with a referendum, you can turn around and say, well, you had the vote. We didn't know what you wanted, but we've give you the option to vote again, just to tell us, because we don't know how to deliver this. So what do you want? Then at least if it goes up in flames, at least the government can't blame the people for the vote. But also, and that's why I think although I would love Article 50 to just be revoked outright, I know that will not be a viable option. I believe, but from a extremist point of view, I'm going to call it that, because I believe there were some moderate people who voted leave, and you have your own logical reasons. I understand that, and I disagree with you, but you had the right to do that, just as I disagree with people who vote for the Conservative Party, but you have your right to do that. Now, when we are dealing with that, I think it's worth bearing in mind that no one really, you could say this is what I want, this is what we do with happen. No, you didn't. That's the issue. Unless you were Nostradamus, unless you were Marty McFly, there's no way you could have seen the future of what was going to happen anyway. Now, if it had been the other way around, we would not be having this conversation right now. We'd have just got on with our lives as we normally do. Yes, you'd have a few mourners. You'd have like Farage mourning and stuff. He might have even stayed longer in UKIP. With the referendum done, UKIP would have been a dead party anyway. I think we have to be fair with that. Or they could have done what the SNP did and evolved, but we saw they could never evolve, and they're just not the party that would evolve. So now we are into the 3 months away. What do we have to look forward to? Have to look forward to uncertainty if a deal's not sorted out pretty quickly. We have the far right rising to now dangerous levels. We are seeing them on harassing MPs and left-wing sided journalists. We are now seeing there is a possibility that the Northern Ireland peace agreement could be broken. So yeah, well done, Mr. Farage and Mr. Morgan, all the others. I'm sure that's what you wanted. I'm sure you wanted when you pitched this. I'm sure that was in your manifesto, was it not? Of course it wasn't, because you're not that dead. You're not that. I don't even think you knew what was coming. You assumed that EU would just roll over, give it to your demand, and they'd leave with a deal that you'd like. But it doesn't work like that. It never has done. But anyway, because I am running, my nose is running like a tap. But there is another thing I'm going to talk about today. Now, I understand why people vote. Another reason people voted was not because was domestic things, but the domestic stuff has nothing to do with the EU. For example, austerity had nothing to do with the EU at all. That was a government's decision. We have our own sovereignty. We have our own currency. It was up to us what we did. We were never going to be like Greece. We had our own, because we had our own currency. We could lower and rise them, and we could even quantify if we wanted to. There was no issue there. So we were never ever going to be like Greece because we had our own money. So forgive me, my nose is getting blocked up again. But today, there was a news. I woke up this morning to hear a story about a man who had been denied any benefits whatsoever. They claimed he had £16,000 in assets. And this poor guy had to live off food banks, borrow money from his mates to pay bills. And they just refused to give him any money. Eventually got all his money back, and I'm sure that's a massive amount of money that he's got, but I don't know how much he'll have to pay in tax, in like the interest loads he's had to take out. But I think it's worth bearing in mind that that's a thing. So I'm gonna go, and I'll see you all later. But the next few weeks, I think we're going to either see a people's vote happen, or we are going to see something's going to happen. Something has to happen. It's either going to be an extension or a people's vote. But I can't see us crashing out on the 29th of March. I think it's not going to happen. There isn't enough politicians to let that happen. They'd rather revoke Article 50. But that's just my opinion. And I know you get some trolls sometimes who will argue with me, but I think that's just my opinion. And if you claim that everything's Project Fair, then you're missing the boat. You're missing the point. You have to be able to tell people like me why I should be not worried about that. So I'll see you later. Bye.